Here's what we want to do for the next 20 minutes. Dan, we're going to start with you here. We're going to talk a little baseball. My dad has been calling me up all week, telling me, hey, we got to talk more baseball, got to talk more baseball. He's addicted to baseball. Dan, we know you are always locked into that as well. So here's what we want to do for the first 2 minutes, very quickly. New little segment here. Maybe we'll do it every week. Maybe we'll never do it again. Who knows? We call it Dan's Stance. Dan Stance. So here's what I want you to do, Dan. Tell us one team or player that isn't getting enough love, either just as a baseball fan or from a handicapping perspective. Who's just flying under the radar that you want to stick up for here?
I'm probably going to go with the Seattle Mariners here because their pitching has been simply outstanding this year. They're getting overshadowed by both the Rangers and the Astros because they're sitting at 500, and Texas and Houston have played excellent baseball all season. Seattle just needs one big bat, and they can get right back into this race. They've played very well against Houston this season. They haven't figured out Texas, but they still get, I think, 6 games each against both the Astros and the Rangers. The rest of their schedule is really soft. They've gotten most of their tough opponents out of the way. They get to feast on some AL Central teams, and they're going off at plus 1,300 to win the AL West right now, which is way too high. I probably would have placed that at around plus 700. So that's really excellent value, especially if Seattle can add a bat at the trade deadline. So yeah, I'll go with the Mariners there.
Dan, I could not agree more. I told you back in March, I love the Mariners to win the AL West. I'm tired of the Astros, tired of the Rangers, tired of the Angels. I got no love for them. Plus 1,300.
How can you be tired of the Angels? When have they ever won anything in the last 20 years?
Wait a minute. I thought you were an Astro fan. When they lose, you call me up all upset. Now you're still on this stupid Mariners train. Give me a break, man. Look, you guys,
that's not even
you
true.
guys
I haven't
do
even
all the dissing you want, okay, on Houston. They got half a team. They got 2 starters are out for the season. Altuve's out. Jordan's out. They're 2 games out of first place. They won a game last night. Alvarez and Altuve just went to rehab in Sugarland, a couple miles away. They're coming back, and we're going to get a pitcher on the deadline. We're going to get Giello from Chicago. I think we're going to get Stroman, but we're going to get a pitcher, and we're going to get a starter to give this bullpen. Right? We think of the Astros think of the best bullpen in the major leagues, even with being overworked. So you guys can sit here and give me all your Seattle nonsense. I tell you the other thing, Texas is a fraud. They're going to fade, right? I tell you the other fraud, Reds, right? Talk about a team that's getting too much love. I'm going to fade them. I'm going to make a lot of money betting against the Reds in the second half. And let me tell you why.
Like made a lot of money on Pete Alonso?
Their start. Look, I was another 4-2 last night. I'm going to put my record up against anybody, right? I won another, 165 last night. I'm up 650 for the season. I'm hot as a pepper. Here's the bottom line.
You sound fragile, though.
The Reds,
you don't sound hot as a pepper.
All I know
you
is
don't sound well, John.
You sound like when you order fajitas and they set them down and like 30 seconds later they stop sizzling, but they're kind of like still popping a little bit, and you're like, oh, they're going to be cold in a minute. That's kind of what you sound like right now.
All right, so I had a little cold streak, but now I'm back with a vengeance, right? I mean, I was up 1,000, down 2,000. Now I'm up 650, which means in the last 3 weeks,
there's no way to live.
2650. So look, but the Reds, here's the thing. You want to make money in baseball? I'm telling you, fade the Reds. I'll tell you why. I picked Milwaukee last night. They're not going to score 8-10 runs a game, right? People are going to figure these hitters out, and their starting pitching metrics are pathetic. They're the 3rd worst in the MLB. Now maybe they'll get they'll get a starter like the Astros need at the trade deadline. If they do that, they're going to be tough. They're in a weak division, but you can't rely on scoring 8-10 runs a game. Eventually that magic wears out. But guys, somebody's got to comment on the Mets. I mean, this thing is a disaster.
Let's I know you'd love to hate the Mets because a Wall Street guy owns them. We know that. So before we get Dad to your picks, which we want to do, I know you alluded you're fading the Reds forever until they win a couple games and then you'll start betting them again or whatever. But Nate, every day, Dad sends you his picks to get up on the website. I know it's the bane of your existence. It's always in the middle of the day. You've got like 25 minutes to get them up before the games go live. He texts you 50 times. Are they up? Did you get my picks up? Did you post them? I sent the picks.
Send link when you post it.
Yeah. Did you post it? Hey, I don't see it. Oh, never mind. I never refreshed the page. Okay, I have it. Thank you. So
I thought I was bad.
No,
Not even
you're incredible, man. We love it when you send your picks like, not 5 minutes before the game starts.
At like 3 a.m.
Yeah, no, we love that. Anyway, so Dan or Nate, before we get to Dad's picks, because you're so familiar with his, I guess, trends, give us a couple, just throw out some guesses. If you're looking at the schedule here, what are some games that you know for certain he's going to be picking?
All right, now I got my picks. I got my picks written down. So Nate doesn't have them. So as Nate tells you, I'll tell you whether I'm betting them today or not. Go ahead.
Astros minus 130, definitely.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see here. I think we're gonna take the Dodgers minus. It looks like it's minus 105 now.
Yes.
Against the Mets. Okay.
You're 2 for 2.
We're definitely gonna take Brewers. I mean, you gave me that one already. Brewers plus 100. You're gonna take them as a dog against the Reds.
Yes.
Okay, that's 3. Oh, now it starts to get tough. I think we're gonna bet the Phillies today against the Padres. Minus 145.
Opposite. No, wrong.
Oh, you're sticking with the Padres. Okay, that's 3 out of 4. I got one. I'm gonna do one more, and then we can end this segment. I think you're gonna go back to the well with the Cubs, even though they lost last night at minus 110.
No, I'm never betting the Cubs again in my history ever. I've never won a bet. I bet against them. They win 8-1. I bet on them. They're never in a game. I'm 0 for 50 with the Cubs. I'm not touching that team. Sometimes you're in baseball. It's kind of like football for me. Sometimes there's a team you just can't win, right? You bet on them, they get beat. You bet against them, they lose. I don't want anything to do with the Cubs. I'm not touching them again. Screw them. But I love the Yankees tonight. When is the last time Colorado's won 2 games in a row? Right? When they won 2 games in a row? Now, look, I laid a $1.95 or 90 yesterday. Yankees got beat. I'm going to come back minus 160 again today. I like Schmidt, the Yankees, but they got to start winning. There's teams right now that they got to start to win, or there's going to be upheaval. Mets get beat again. Mets are going to get swept at home with the Dodgers. Walter's gone. Cohen's got to do something. This is a disaster. The Yankees underperforming all season. Go to Colorado, get beat last night, right? Toronto, they're basically a 500 team. They got one of the best lineups in the major leagues. I bet them last night they won. They got to turn the corner. But the big team that's got to turn this is San Diego. I've been saying this all season. You look at the lineup, you look at their pitching, they got a closer, they got Hader. Like, how is this team 10 games under 500? AJ Preller has got to do something other than go to the trade deadline and get more headlines. This guy has spent all this owner's money, billions of dollars of his owner's money, and he's like 10 games behind the Dodgers again. San Diego's got a lot of pressure on him. They got to start winning.
So you mentioned the trade deadline, and I think all of us are going to need to get some sleep here in order to really lock into the trade deadline the next couple of weeks. The only way to wake up, Dad, for the trade deadline, I think, is with Beard Vet coffee. I got it right now. I'm sipping Beard Vet. Look at this mug. Look, you see Dad's over there. He's got the mug. I got a little Yeti cup here. This Yeti cup, by the way, super cheap. Now, what you need to do, go to Godzilla Win or go to beardvet.com. That's beardvet.com. Put in the promo code Godzilla. It's going to get you 10% off all of your coffee needs. Whether that's whole bean coffee, that's what I drink. I buy 2 or 3 bags at a time. They come in about 2 or 3 days. I grind them up, put them in the coffee, put them in my little Beard Vet cup here. Or they've got the K cups. Like, I know Dad drinks the K cups because for some reason he doesn't have time to brew like a cup of coffee. Although I'm also not sure he knows how to brew a cup of coffee, because the last time he did it for me a couple years ago, he put 18 scoops of coffee in an 8-cup pot. Like
It
he
was
like
good.
he broke the Mr. Coffee. It was like overflowing with grounds. And I mean, if you've ever listened to him on the radio, you can see that he's putting too much coffee in the filter. I mean, I think that was evident just him talking about baseball for 4 minutes. But listen, Beard Vet coffee, I love the taste. It's just incredible. You go to beardvet.com. You put in that promo code Godzilla as you're checking out. Listen, you get free shipping over $40. That's just something they do for everybody. And then you get that 10% off on your coffee needs. So not only are you getting the free shipping over $40, but you put in that Godzilla promo, that's Godzilla for the promo at beardvet.com, and you're good to go with 10% off. So go ahead and check that out. Get all your coffee needs and all your beard needs there. I shaved off.
And don't run out of it. Like even today, Mom's coming up to meet me here. She's already on the road now. She's tuning us in. Last thing I text her is, "Hey, I'm almost out of my Beard Vet coffee. Can you bring me up another box of Colonial Downs?" And then she texted me back and she said, "Stop asking me to bring stuff." So, but she's on the way. Don't run out of your Beard Vet. Don't run out because I panic. Like I only saw like 5 or 6 now. I'm like, I got to text Mom, give me a Beard Vet. She's like, "Stop texting me for stuff." But yeah, you got to get your Beard Vet. And here we are at Colonial Downs, man. Just go to rosiesgaming.com, rosiesgaming.com. You come and check us out. You want to come up in our suite, just text me, 757-692-1710. We'll put you on that list. Come right in. We'll get our picks here, have a little Beard Vet coffee. Of course, they got a bar here also if you want to do that. But go to rosiesgaming.com. And if you sign up for a new card right today, you're going to get between $25 and $1,000 in free play. How do you beat that? Just go to rosiesgaming.com. rosiesgaming.com. You're good to go.
The last thing you need is 14 cups of coffee as you're walking up to the window at Colonial Downs, looking at a full day of horse betting.
Okay, so that's the other thing. Great segue. So they have the machines in the suite where you can bet, on the machines. They have, of course, I've got the app where I can bet online, but I want to go to the window. Like I want to go, I'm old school. And nobody goes to there's all these tellers there. There's nobody there. Everybody's betting on the machines or online. I want to go to the window and place my bet. I want to say, whatever, 20 to win on the 5-6 race Colonial Downs. Now, is that just old school, Nate? What is that? Why do I want to go I will not bet on the machine here, which is right in the suite. I want to go to I walk all the way down the hall to go to the window. Why? Why is that?
I probably just to get some of that energy out from drinking too much Beard Vet coffee.
I'll go with that.
Right. Increase
Get a
your
little
steps.
exercise.
Yeah, increase your steps on your Fitbit from 15 to 30. So I think that's probably a good enough reason right there to maybe get some air and walk.
I'm in
over
full
to the
support of
window.
this fitness journey you're on, John. Just walk into the window.
That's right. Walking to the window, walking back, walking to the bar, walking back, go back to the window. By the end of the day, you'll have 90 steps.
I should get one of those
you'll be out of breath.
step
I don't think
things,
that's
right? Don't you have a
the window
step
there.
thing that
Probably
you
not.
put on your waist or something to tell you how many steps you have? Some kind of app, steps app.
Well, it's a watch. So it doesn't go on your waist. That would
It's
be
a belt.
Yeah,
It's like a
we don't-
beeper, right?
No, it's just a watch. Okay. So listen, we got a couple minutes and Dad called me like 900 times this week and said, we got to talk about the trade deadline. So I'm going to let him tee it up. But Dad, what I want you to do is I want you to include Dan in this conversation because you guys follow the stuff a little bit more closely. So go ahead and tell us what you're thinking for the trade deadline and then include Dan in the conversation as well.
Well, Dan,
And then about
we'll
8:40
just start here, Dan. There are major sellers, I think,
Of course.
coming up to July 31st, right? August 1st, major sellers. And you got like 4 of them, Dan. You got the Angels, right? I mean, they lost again last night. Astros beat them. They lost 10 out of 11. They're done. Tony's going to go. We'll talk about that in a minute. They're a major seller. Cardinals have got to be a seller, right? I mean, they're not
Absolutely.
going to make the playoffs. They got an older team. They got a couple of, starters, Flaherty and Montgomery. You got to look at that. I don't know what the White Sox are going to do, but I would think they're not going to be a buyer. So you got
No, definitely not.
yeah. So they could be a seller, but they're not going to be a buyer. So that's That's three, right? I don't think San Diego's a seller, but then you got the Mets. The Mets have got to do something here. I mean, they just can't continue to embarrass themselves. So you got three major sellers. And of course, then there's the bottom feeders, Kansas City, Colorado, et cetera. But let's get to Ohtani, right? His pitching statistics, not that great this season, been solid, but not shut down. Astros knocked him out of the game last night, ended up beating him. But he's not going to sign with the Angels. You got a trade deadline coming up. Are they going to trade him? Because they got to get something. Otherwise, he walks, right? And this guy's probably going to get a $7 million contract. The only one that's going to be able to pay that is the China hedge fund guy in the Mets. So what is your take on this?
I mean, the Yankees could also pay it.
That's true.
But yeah, I think the Angels would be crazy not to trade Ohtani. But right now, Los Angeles operating under that delusion that they're still in this thing. I think the next 2 weeks are going to be absolutely critical to deciding where Ohtani is going to go, because these next couple series, if the Angels take a beating, then they're going to have no choice but to trade him and get whatever they can. And I really think that this could be a situation where some team comes out of nowhere and rents him for a couple months because of everything he can do. I mean, you look at a team like Arizona, Cincinnati, Baltimore. I mean, this is a time where you throw a bunch of prospects at the Angels and see if Ohtani can give you that title before you go back to what you were already doing. So I wouldn't be surprised either way, because I don't trust the Angels front office at all. They've made a plethora of bad decisions over the past decade. So they should trade him. I don't know that they will. And one team that you didn't mention that should be a seller, Detroit. They have a couple really solid pitchers. So there's several teams that need starting pitchers, and Rodriguez and Lorenzen could really help somebody. The Tigers are nowhere near contending, so they should absolutely be selling.
I think the Reds is going to be a real opportunity for Ohtani. Not that they're going to sign him, but rent them, right?
Yeah. I mean, a small market team,
and because they got so many young players in their farm system, but they got one of the richest farm systems. Astros have the weakest. Reds have one of the best. They got a great farm system. So you could see, a bunch of prospects going to the Angels. They get him for 2 months, right? And maybe take a shot and try to win the thing. I tell you one thing it'll do, they'll fill that park up every single home game if he's there.
Of course. I mean, Cincinnati's a great sports town. Like, they fill up the stadium every night for FC Cincinnati across town. They're just waiting for the Reds to actually be a legit contender. And if they were to get Ohtani, that's Great American Ballpark would be full every night, and they would really be a legitimate contender in the National League.
What are the Mets going to do?
God only knows. I mean, there's still value in Verlander and Scherzer, but they haven't looked like themselves at all. Scherzer carries that huge $43 million player option for next year. So trading for him, like, you can trade for Ohtani as a rental. You can't do that with Scherzer. So it's going to have to be a team that has a lot of money available to throw at him for next year, because that $43 million, that's Scherzer's option, not the team's. So it's a really tough situation for the Mets.
My son, Joseph's theory is that they trade Verlander back to the Astros with Cohen paying the majority of his salary. But I think that's bad juju. I think you trade somebody, he doesn't want to play with you, get $80 million or something for 2 seasons. I don't think it's a good thing to get him back, but there is a theory going around that Cohen could do that, and Verlander, would have proved that, like he did when he first came to the Astros. Is that a possible scenario?
I mean, it could be, but I don't know. A situation like that, I think you're right. I don't really think it's an ideal move for the Astros to make, and I'm not really sure if that really helps Houston all that much.
Well, we need a starter. I think we end up, we're either going to get Stroman. Stroman fits our team. Ground ball pitcher, not overpowering, like Framber, gets gets a lot of ground balls. We have a great defense. So Stroman would be my number one pick to go after him. My second one would be Jordan Montgomery on the Cardinals. That guy Cardinals have been a clown show this season.
Yeah,
that guy just goes out there. He throws 7 innings, eats up innings. He was going to give up his 2 or 3 or 4 runs, but he gives you a lot of quality starts. Again, not an overpowering guy, fits into their system. And Dan, I'll turn it over to you because I know we have to get to boxing.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Giolito is another one that you mentioned who could be a possible pickup. And yeah, they've got to do something because you know that the Rangers are going to.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the Rangers are going to be pretty active here, so we'll see. We've got a couple more weeks where we can talk a little bit about the trade deadline. A lot of moving pieces when it comes to the Major League Baseball storylines right now. We want to thank Dan Angell, as always, for being with us, talking a little bit Women's World Cup and talking some baseball with us. Dan, really quickly, where can listeners find you on Twitter? Now, they can go to GodzillaWins.com, find all of your picks on the site. The Women's World Cup stuff coming pretty soon. But on Twitter, where can they find you?
On Twitter, I am at Dan Angell 11. So yeah, you can find me there. And yeah, on Instagram, I think there's a dot in there between the Dan and the Angel because I just started that one.
Yeah, usually what I do when I want to at you is I put in Dan Angell and then the 11 usually comes up first because you're especially on Twitter.
Yeah, Instagram, there's a dot between Dan and Angel. Twitter, it's just Dan Angell 11.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan, for joining us today. We'll see you next week. Talk a little bit more Women's World Cup.